Some of us aren't being bold in our faith. We're just being arrogant. I'm not your pastor. I'm just out here with my cows in the pasture. And I'm just sharing some thoughts. I have been sharing these 3 filters that I run my thoughts through. They're things I've journaled about. I came up with them after making a bunch of mistakes, really just posting things that I later regretted. Even interactions with people in real life, not on social media, that I, in time, when I had time to sit with it, I thought, I wish I would have handled that differently. I'll often sit down with my journal and I'll just write down, what's bothering me about what I said or what I did. And I think on it for a while. And I end up always going back. I was raised in church. My dad was a preacher. And so scripture is just, it's down in me. It will come out. That's why it bothered me that I said that, because scripture says I should have handled it this way instead. So eventually I'll sit down with my journal and I write, and I've ended up writing a bunch of things down, but I've been sharing these 3 filters that I use before I post stuff on Instagram. I'm trying to find a place to put my phone up. I got it on the handle of my truck door, so hopefully it doesn't fall off. Here's the 3 filters that I run things through. Before I post, before I respond, I want to think this way. Am I doing this to compete or connect? 2, am I just complaining? Am I pointing at a problem, or am I looking for a way to become a solution? And 3, and this is the one I'm gonna talk about now, am I being bold in my faith or just arrogant? Because there is a difference. Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all people to myself. John chapter 12, that's the target, to lift Jesus up. Not me, not to draw attention to myself, not you, him. Can you imagine if we ran before we responded to someone, especially on social media, in a comment, before we made a post, if we asked ourselves, who is this pointing to? You can be quoting scripture and using truth in the wrong way. I mean, Satan used scripture when he argued with Jesus. I've seen people online as Christians, say crazy things. I've seen Christians who post something, you can tell they're doing it to start an argument, to be controversial, because it gets views, it gets likes. I've seen big artists, I've seen celebrity pastors do it. They post this controversial thing that they know is going to stir people up. And then when people don't like it, they say, fine, unfollow me. Unfollow me if you disagree with me. Can you imagine when the young rich ruler comes to Jesus and he falls down and he says, hey, I'm great, I'm good, I've done all these great things. What else must I do? Jesus says, go and sell everything you have and come follow me. He gets up and walks away sorrowful. Can you imagine if scripture followed that up with Jesus saying, good, I'm glad you don't follow me. Unfollow me. Christians, if you are on social media and you are posting things that are controversial, be kind. You can use truth to point to Jesus, and that's bold faith. You can also use scripture to point to yourself, to build yourself up, to make yourself look great. That's not bold faith. That is arrogance. Finished with my chores, and I was watching that little clip back I just made, and I meant to say, instead of arguing, maybe to be more clear, Satan used scripture when he was tempting Jesus. Sorry, I'm losing daylight fast. Yeah, so when Satan was tempting Jesus in the desert, 40 days, 40 nights, he used scripture. He told Jesus, he said, hey, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels to come and rescue you. Satan is quoting a psalm. He's twisting it to manipulate Jesus. And Jesus responds using scripture too and says, well, it's also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test. So if scripture is used to justify pride or to point to yourself instead of God, that's not right. Jesus doesn't do that. Jesus points back to the Father, and we are supposed to point to the Father, not to make ourselves look good, make it about us. Anyways, those are my 3 filters. I love you guys. Check out my sunset tonight. It's getting dark out here fast, but those are just things that I try to run thoughts through after making mistakes and not wanting to continue to make them. Well, this light's helpful. So hopefully, I'd love to hear what your filters are. Do you have things that you check yourself with, check your heart with? Be bold in your faith. Don't be arrogant. God help us. Love you.